You surface from the underground at Piccadilly Circus.
Mind the gap.
Making your way through the glittering lights of London's West End, you take a turn down a quaint-looking street into the notorious neighborhood of Soho. The lights are dimming, the crowd is buzzing, and you've just tuned in to the best seat in the house. Welcome to The Big Smoke, a variety show podcast. I'm Kevin Bennett, and I'll be your guide through this experience of comedy, conversation, and community. Welcome to Variety Week, the moment in our schedule where we throw open the doors to the wonderfully eclectic, bringing you our curious mix of comedy, hidden histories, unusual characters, and the stories that make London such a fascinating place to explore. First up, London's very own Loo Lady, Rachel Cole Wilkin, returns for another stop on London Loo Tours. This time, we're descending beneath a Victorian gin palace to visit the magnificent Grade 2 listed toilets of the Princess Louise in Holborn, complete with marble urinals, original tiles, and a reminder that even a trip to the pub WC can become a journey through history. Then our favorite apprentice magicians, the Strange Brothers, are back. This week, Salazar and Craig attempt to drag magic into the modern age by launching a podcast of their very own. A magical podcast within a podcast? What could possibly go wrong? We're also trying something new, bringing you episodes every single week. So stay tuned next Thursday for more adventurous audio from across the Big Smoke. But for now, let's tune in. And community. I'm in the city, out for a long walk, or dashing across town for a meeting, feeling rather pleased with myself. Not only have I polished off my morning coffee, I've even managed a glass or two of water. Hydration goals? Check. But then, I walk past that large fountain. I hear the free-flowing stream of water. I feel a shift, a sudden, unmistakable realization. Where can I go? Who can I turn to? Well, never fear. The Loo Lady is here.
Hello, Big Smoke listeners. My name is Rachel Cole Wilkin, and I am the creator of London Loo Tours, the city's only walking tour of public toilets. For over a decade, I've been looking for the best loos in London and sharing my passion with anyone who will listen. When I first began to explore the city, at the time as a theatre student freshly arrived from America, I became obsessed with where to find free toilets. The idea spiraled from a personal desire to save a penny or two into a passion which would shape my career and identity as the Loo Lady. Apart from being incredibly useful, these often underappreciated spaces are historical, political, and endlessly fascinating. Going to the toilet is one of the most basic universal experiences there is, and I am here to lift the lid on some of the best places to go in London.
Well, you know what, listeners? I gotta see a man about a horse. So, let's head on down to the loo.
Today, we're actually not going to a public toilet, but to a pub toilet, to the Princess Louise on High Holborn. This gin palace opened in 1872 and was named after Queen Victoria's rebel daughter, Princess Louise, who probably would have been quite chuffed to have a gin palace named after her. It was restored to its former glory by Sam Smiths in 2010. Entering the heavy wooden door on the left of the pub takes us down a passage with etched glass mirrors and opulent tiles, which I was once told by the manager are worth about £1,000 a piece if you could prize them off the wall, due to their size and intricacy, but please don't do that. On the other side are wooden booths, also with etched glass, which conveniently shield us from the circular bar where suspicious bartenders might question why we are sneaking into the loos without buying a drink first. Just at the end of these booths, we'll nip down a staircase, and we've made it to the only Grade 2 listed pub loos in London. Pushing through another heavy swinging door and making our way around a partition, we'll find ourselves facing a magnificent set of white porcelain urinals trimmed with black marble, with partitions wide enough to comfortably rest a beer glass or two. The walls and floor are a cacophony of green, orange, white, and brown tiles, all original. The only blight on the otherwise Victorian interior are the modern water closets, which are out of place with their sanitary white 20th century sleekness. The ladies' loos next door are disappointingly 20th century because, of course, a proper Victorian lady did not have bodily functions, and most certainly not in a public house.
Well, okay, so these are the only grade 2 listed pub loos in London. Now that makes them very, very special.
It does. For your international listeners, grade 2 listing, it's basically a historic protection. So it means that it's of architectural significance and therefore they're not allowed to mess with them without getting quite a lot of permission and going through hoops.
So can the public use them then because they're protected, or?
Yes and no. So they're in a pub. If you are a patron of the pub, you can use them. No question. That's what they're there for.
Okay.
So it's not often you get to pee on a historically significant object, actually.
At least legally.
But you're encouraged to do that on these ones, better than peeing elsewhere. It's interesting with pubs because certainly for Londoners, I think pubs kind of become the de facto public toilet sometimes.
It's easy to sneak into a pub, and often the loos are downstairs and they don't even see you kind of go down.
Yeah.
At least for me as a visitor to London as well, I always feel like I don't feel bad if I don't buy a pint if I need to sneak to the loo in a pub.
And I think, and get lynched for this, but I think that's valid. There are actually places where they run community toilet schemes. So it's very localized. So in Britain, public toilets, as in a toilet that the government oversees, are the responsibility of local authorities, which are kind of our smallest units of local governments. And some of them, rather than building and maintaining public toilets, they work with local businesses. So you'll sometimes see a sign that says community toilet. And what that means is that you can, without buying a drink, without just trying to sneak in or pretend you're waiting for a friend, you can march straight in and use the loo. Princess Louise is not one of those, I should say. But there are a few places in London that have them.
So tell me about the most interesting design features on Victorian urinals.
So
these are quite unique.
One thing that I love with Victorian urinals, and the Princess Louise doesn't have this, but sometimes you'll see printed about halfway up a little bee. And it was a joke. The bee is to help you aim, but
you aim for the bee.
You aim for the bee, a beeline, as it were. But that's not even the joke. The joke is that the Latin name of the bee was an apis. So you're taking apis.
Oh my God, that's hilarious!
It is, isn't it? And they've sometimes done it on modern urinals. We say urinals in England, by the way, for your American listeners. We say urinal. I think the English don't like saying urine.
Urinal as well.
So I've kind of habituated to saying urinals.
Urinal.
You see it sometimes on modern urinals or urinals that there'll be something printed. Sometimes it's a fly. And I think that's because people looked at the bee and thought it was a fly. I actually did this once on the very first ever sort of press I had. It was for the BBC. And I said it was a fly and not a bee. And the BBC listeners know they're Latin. So, oh boy, did I get letters saying, did you know? They were usually very nice, but did you know that apis is actually a bee, not a fly? So I will never forget that now.
Speak back to the urinal versus urinal thing. I always found it funny when I moved from Canada to London and heard people saying urinal because they don't say urine.
No, they say urine.
Urine and urinal. So I always thought, the reason I say urinal is, wait, do I say urinal? Is that right? Now I'm all messed up. Is it urinal, urinal? Potato, let's call the whole thing off. Let me ask you another question.
Can I tell you one more thing on that
first?
Toilet is another one. And I don't know in Canada, but certainly in the States, toilet's very specifically the bit you sit on. So if you tell people you're going to the toilet, that's really quite graphic, actually. That's too much information.
This is another thing here. People say I'm going to the toilet. Yeah. It feels very graphic to me.
You don't have to tell me that. Go see a man about a dog or powder your nose.
It's like turning to someone you're having dinner with and saying, I got to take a crap or something. To me, saying I'm going to the toilet, that's how it feels that grotesque.
It is. It's a very American versus British thing.
Yeah.
And yet even toilet is a euphemism. It means to wash. We have no word, I think, in the English language that means what it literally is. Like there's not a word that means the place where I'm going to shit.
Well, okay, so this leads me to something that I wondered about, which is, we call it the loo, which I think is a lovely term here, Loo Tours, or you see WC sometimes. Well, first of all, what does loo come from? Do we know where that comes from?
There are several theories. Like most good things, there's no definite answer. The theory that you'll hear most often, because it's the most fun, I think, is that it's from the days when people would have chamber pots. And you probably keep your chamber pot under your bed or in a cupboard upstairs, and you use it, and then you're not going to walk downstairs to empty it because we're very lazy. So instead, you'll pour the contents out the window in the streets. But there's a polite way to do this. And the polite thing is to first shout, regardez l'eau, which is French. My French is terrible, but it's French for watch out for the water.
Right.
And the English are not known for their correct French pronunciation, as it eventually got anglicized to gardez l'eau. And then loo is sort of the contraction of that. So it could be from pouring your chamber pot out the window. Theory number 2 is that when hotels, which were some of the first buildings to sort of incorporate water closets, because you've got people staying overnight, when they started putting them in, they didn't want to brazenly say WC on the door. So they would label it room 100. And if you look at 100, loo.
Interesting.
So again, it's a theory. We don't know for sure.
Yeah.
And then the most boring option is it's just from the French word for place. So lieu. Is place, and I'm going to the place. And the French actually used to call them les lieux anglais, the English places.
That's hilarious. Well, while we're speaking of the history of some of these words of, loo, WC, going to the toilet, what about some of these famous, there's, for example, I've heard, I don't know if this person even existed, but I've heard of someone that was called Mr. Crapper or something like that. Was that a real person, and did he have a connection to toilets and
Thomas
washrooms?
Crapper was a real person who did have a connection to toilets.
Okay.
He's one of the kind of most misunderstood heroes of history, I think, because you'll often hear people say that Thomas Crapper invented the toilets, and that's not true. He was born about 2,000 years too late, really, to invent the toilet. But he was a man who moved to London as a plumber's apprentice. He was here kind of at the time that the flush toilet was becoming big. And so he then, after he finished his apprenticeship, went into manufacturing. And he was very good at marketing. So he opened the first bathroom showroom in London. He put his name on all the products. And by the end of his career, he was providing sanitary wares to the royal family. But the interesting thing about him is actually the word crap. It doesn't really come from him, but he contributes to its continued use. So in the late early 1900s, crap was not a rude word in England. So nobody would bat an eyelid that you'd go to, the king's house and it would say crapper on his sanitary
But
wares.
it wasn't necessarily connected to Thomas Crapper.
It wasn't. So Crapper on the toilet was connected to Thomas Crapper. That was his branding.
Yeah.
He was Thomas Crapper and Company. But the word crap is actually a Middle English word. So it had been in use for centuries, but then it fell out of use in England around the late 1700s.
Okay.
So it's a distant enough memory by the time Crapper's practicing. The English don't really think about it too much. But in America, our language evolved differently. So America had its revolution while crap was still in use, and we never stopped using it. And so it's kind of around World War I that soldiers are coming over. They use words like crap, and they see crapper printed on the toilets, and they think that's hilarious. So they started calling it the crapper, and then that kind of repopularized the word.
So what did it
here.
originally mean?
Crap. So crap, comes from crappen. It's the bit of chaff that's separated from wheats was the crap. And so it's this idea of the useless bit that gets thrown away, essentially.
And so it was used as a for your shit.
Yeah, it became
was,
slang for poo at least from the 1700s. So it's a very old word, crap. But it then it died and was repopularized.
And he took advantage of his surname, Thomas Crapper.
I don't think it was actually repopularized in his lifetime, to be honest.
Oh, really?
I think he was a very serious and hardworking Victorian innovator. And as far as I know, there's no record of him ever capitalizing on the name specifically. I happen to own, I think, every book about Thomas Crapper ever written. There are 4.
Okay, well, that's not too much. I was imagining a library in your house.
No, I have a toilet library, but there's 4 books
library.
about Crapper. If you would like to visit a Crapper toilet,
yes, tell us.
The best place to go in London is Wesley's Chapel, which is
Okay.
on city roads. And
What neighborhood is that in?
it's near Old Street.
Okay.
So sort of east
Yeah.
central.
Yeah.
And if you go to
Shoreditch-ish.
Wesley's Chapel and you tell them you want to see the toilets, they'll know exactly what you mean.
Okay.
They will take you down to the gents, because the gents is the one you want to visit. And it's this beautiful, like, marble everywhere, wooden paneling. And they do have Thomas Crapper toilets.
And it's branded
in
with
Wesley's
his name.
Chapel. And it's branded with his
so
name.
that's another good honorable mention if you want to check
It
that out.
is.
I wanted to ask you, you just mentioned, the gents is the one that you really want to go to. And I know that you like to talk about in your tours sort of the history and the modern day politics, I guess, around gender and toilets. Tell us a little bit about that when it comes to the history of, sometimes there weren't even toilets for women. How does that come into your tours, and what about that do you think is interesting and important to talk about?
Sure. So I think toilets are very political spaces. This is something I've come to appreciate because they sort of showcase all of our cultural fears and anxieties about who should and shouldn't have access and our bodies. But the idea of gendered toilets in some ways is almost a Victorian invention. So if you go back earlier than that, people, I think, were a little bit more open about bodily functions, like you'd be pouring your chamber pots into the
Sure.
streets. One of my favorite stories the staff at Kensington Palace tell is about the parties they would have there. And, women would show up in their 6-foot wide dresses. And if you needed to relieve yourself, you would ask for the bordeloo, which is essentially a gravy boat. And you've got a slit in the back of your dress and crotchless knickers, because that's very practical. So
Yeah.
your maid would just come and pop it in. But you wouldn't stop what you were doing. You would just carry on
Too
and
many
do that in the
layers
main
to
room.
take all of that off.
So, so people they did it in public. It was fine. And then my theory, and I think there needs to be a good academic study on this, which there hasn't been yet. But my theory is what happens is when we get the plumbed in flush toilet and we can put that in a room and then you can close the door to that room, that's when we really started going, oh, this is private. And then that kind of escalates to, well, maybe ladies should pretend they don't do it at all. So you get this thing where when they started building public toilets, that's during a period when the women's place was very much seen to be in the home, and the ideas that ladies would have bodily functions out in public was very upsetting to many people. So oftentimes they would just build toilets for gentlemen, and they had all sorts of arguments why, a proper lady didn't need this. And I think there's a class thing as well in there, because these early public toilets, they were built for not necessarily just the well-to-do, but the better sort of person. If you're a street urchin, you're just going to go in the gutter and nobody bats an eyelid. And there's actually one of the surprising campaigners for women's rights in toilets was the playwright George Bernard Shaw.
Oh, okay.
In 1910, he wrote this wonderful essay called The Unmentionable Case for Women's Suffrage. And in it, he talks about the challenges women face with getting public toilets, one of which was that even when they had them built, men had urinals provided completely free, because the idea that a man would pay to use a urinal was a bit ridiculous. So women were having to pay every time they visited versus, men only having to pay for a poo, essentially. But also he talks about just the opposition to the idea of women's toilets being installed at all. And he gives this example up in Camden Town. Someone proposed a ladies' loo, and the council sort of hemmed and hawed and tried to find excuses. And they couldn't sort of bat it down on gendered grounds. So they then invoked health and safety. And they said, the proposed site may be an obstruction to traffic. And according to Shaw, what then happened was they built sort of a test railing at the proposed sites, and somebody tipped off the local cabbies to come and crash into it all day. So they had this real battle.
Wow.
The idea of women relieving themselves was very upsetting. And we still kind of see this. I think we're moving into the 21st century and into a wonderful time where gender is a social construct. And there are a lot of debates going on around public toilets, because it is one of the last truly gendered spaces, I think. I'm a big fan of gender neutral toilets personally, but that can get very controversial and people have very strong feelings about it.
Well, it's interesting because it makes me think of, there's two things. First of all, when you were talking about the sort of Victorian era and the fact that a lot of the times when these public toilets were being built, there weren't even ones for women at all. There's just a very practical way to control women, and that they were just quite literally, it was difficult to leave the house because you knew there was a limit. If there is no public toilet, I can only go out for a certain amount of time before I have to return home. Back to that leash that we've talked about before, the bladder. Is it the bladder, leash? The other thing I'd wondered about, and I don't know if there's or if there's history on this, is I wonder if this is like when you've got, some of them say WC on the door, some of them say gents or loo. Do we know when the sort of iconic silhouette of a man or the silhouette of someone with a dress and without a dress, is the sort of like gents and ladies loos, when those symbols came to be?
That is an amazing question that, believe it or not, no one has ever asked me
I'm so
in 13
interested
years.
in that.
So I'm going to have to do some research, or listeners, if anyone wants to send us tips on that.
Because I think that's also, it feels very dated now, obviously, because like women don't all wear dresses.
Yeah.
But I guess it's an iconic, it's quite international in many ways because there's no language barrier to it. But,
and it's actually something that comes a lot in venues when they try to get a bit cutesy about it and put other symbols on the doors. People sometimes get a little bit up in arms about that. They're like, well, that's cute, but I don't understand where I'm supposed to go. And it's interesting, actually, coming back to the gendered thing too. The people try different ways of making gender neutral symbols. But also one thing I've realized talking about toilets is you have to use gendered language talking about the history of them. And a lot of my tour guiding work, I try to be very, gender inclusive. But I find I'm always defaulting to ladies and gents in toilets just because that's how the infrastructure is built. One thing that you get in London sometimes is that they're trying to move towards gender neutral, but they're having to do it in these gender binary spaces. So you'll go to theaters, especially, I think they're trying, but they'll have to resort to things like labeling them toilets with urinals and toilets without urinals, which it's a nice step because it means that people who would feel more comfortable going to one or the other have permission to do that almost. But most people will just default and they'll go, well, obviously this is the ladies or obviously this is the gents.
Self-organizing in some ways.
They do. I'm a rebel, so I always go to whichever one has the shortest queue usually. But it's interesting, actually. I have a friend who works in theater, and he told me once that one of the biggest complaints they would sometimes get was usually from older customers who felt uncomfortable about this and didn't like the gender neutral loos. So I sometimes always try to make a point, if I see one in a theater, I write them a little note saying, I really like that you've had gender neutral.
Encouraging them, what is your favorite term for going to the loo? Meaning, in Canada, I grew up saying washroom. A lot of people in America say restroom or bathroom. People here often say the loo or the toilet. What would be, what's your favorite? And if you could invent one, what would it be?
Ooh.
That's two different things, but I'm
That's
curious.
two great questions. I am very fond of the word loo, I think, because it's very quaint and British, and most other countries, they don't necessarily know what it means.
Yeah.
The weirdest one that I love, I knew somebody once who would say, I'm going to organize my biology. So that's probably my most memorable one, which I love.
That's a good one.
I think if I could invent one, I think I yearn for one that is more literal about what it is. Because I love taboos and talking around stuff, but I think it would be lovely if sometimes we just said what it is.
Someone said, I'm going to go and defecate.
I'm going to go defecate. I'm going to go have a poo.
I got to have a meeting with Thomas.
A meeting? I think you've
Thomas
just
Crapper.
Invented one.
That's what I thought. A meeting with Sir Tom. Did he ever become knighted?
He was never knighted.
Oh.
It was one of the great tragedies. He did have, his company held 4 royal warrants.
Okay.
For supplying
That's
goods and
good.
services. He did meet the Prince of Wales at the time of the future, Edward VII. But he was never knighted for his services.
Got a meeting with Thomas.
A meeting with Thomas.
That might be a good one.
I'm gonna remember that one.
A meeting
with Thomas.
Okay. Well, I'm feeling relieved and fresh. So you can learn about Rachel and the London Loo Tours from the link in our show notes. And now, Returning to our stage once more, from the hallowed halls of the Xander Eldrick Institute, please give a big smoky welcome to our favorite magician's apprentice. It is, of course, the one, the only...
Sorry. Don't mind
Hey,
us.
what are you... Hey!
Could you just scooch along, could you, Kevin?
I'm sorry, what exactly are you doing?
Well, with all due respect, Kevin, what does it look like?
We're taking over the mic,
Well,
Kev.
you can't just come in
Don't
here...
worry, we'll take excellent care of everything.
It's our show now, buddy.
What?
That's right, dear patrons. This week, we're doing something a little bit different.
Yeah, we're bringing magic into the 21st century by doing something that everyone started doing about a decade ago.
We're finally doing our very own
Podcast.
Guys, I'm sorry, but you can't just start up your own podcast in the middle of another podcast.
Why not? It's how all the greats got started. Did you know that Serial, the murdery show, that actually started during an episode of Desert Island Discs?
Whose was it? Judge Rinder?
No, Mary Berry.
Makes sense.
Guys, seriously, if you want your own show, then we can discuss this.
It'll be fine, Kevin. We've got a great show planned. You'll enjoy it. You might even learn something.
Well, I really don't know about this.
Have a break. Take yourself off for a coffee.
We've got a magic coin for you.
Magic? As in it gives me infinite free coffee?
To a point.
The point of what?
About 2. It's a buy one, get one free voucher.
So, bog off, Kevin. Respectfully.
But fine. Please, okay, please just don't break anything.
All will be well, Kevin, as we welcome you, dear listener, to this...
The Strange Brothers
Podcast. You emerge from the underworld at Piccadilly's Cirque du Soleil,
Mime the cat.
snaking your way through the shimmering orbs of London's West End. You take a turn down a quaint-looking street into the notorious realm of Soho.
The lights are dimming, the hats are brimming, and you, yes you, have just turned into the best seat in the house. Yeah, you are literally a chair.
Yes, my name is Salazar Strange, Sorcerer Extreme, and I am joined, as always, by my trusty co-host,
Craig the Caster, formerly of Spells, now of Pod.
That's right, and today we will be taking it back
Rewind.
to the very beginning as we ask the age-old question, what is magic? Join us as we wend our way through the deep, dark, tangled web that is magic's history.
Wait, no, not history. You said this was going to be cool and current.
Well, exactly. What could be more cool and current than diving headfirst into magic's most interesting past?
Ugh.
I've devised a historical road trip, stopping off for fun-filled factoids along the way.
Oh.
So fasten your seatbelts, because over the next 2 hours...
2 hours? Oh.
Well, it's hard to compact everything.
You said we were going to be bringing magic into the modern day.
Well, yes, but context is important.
Dull, more like.
Excuse me?
I said dull, more like. We need to keep magic on the edge of what's happening.
Yeah, but I've brought all these vintage artifacts for us to...
No one cares. Magic is dying. It's old hat.
Magic is not old hat.
What are you holding right now?
Well, admittedly, it is an old hat,
Ugh.
but the history behind
No
it
one
is...
cares anymore, Sal, which is why I've been working on a secret project of my own.
What? Well, you were supposed to be doing research for the... What have you got under that cloth?
Behold, my creation!
Hello, Blackpool. Nice to see you. Nice. What the hell is that?
Meet Presto, the portable robotic entertainer specializing in tricks and optical illusions. He is the perfect blend of state-of-the-art technology, expert sleight of hand, with a generous helping of classic showmanship.
Didn't he do well? Give us a twirl.
Mainly Bruce Forsyth.
Okay, well...
Ta-da!
Yes, thank you, robot. Okay, well, first of all, sorry, what were you saying?
Optical illusions.
Optical illusions.
Optical illusions. Optical illusions. Optical
Well, obviously stop saying it. It's not a word for a start. And secondly, Your idea of bringing magic into the modern day was by building a robot with the personality of a long-dead game show host.
Hey, you can't beat a bit of Brucey. Look, he even dances like him.
He's just shuffling around, stiffly bumping into the furniture.
It's uncanny, isn't it?
Keep dancing.
This is a new low, Craig.
He's fully AI-powered.
Craig, I'm sorry. There is no AI in magic.
Well, technically...
Shut up! You don't think things are precarious enough for entertainers as it is? What with shrinking attention spans, screen addiction, brain rot, doom scrolling, and people's sense of whimsy and wonder being drained of all of its joy as they stare at headline after headline, all solidifying the inescapable fact that happiness is but a fleeting distraction from an ever-worsening inevitability that we are all ultimately doomed, and there is nothing that we can do to save ourselves from sliding into the quagmire of squalid despair and certain death.
Yeah, but he's wearing a little cummerbund.
The cummerbund's nice. It's pretty classic.
So you like him?
No, I don't like him.
Oh, Presto's sad.
He looks like a Henry Hoover that you've duct taped a microwave to and drawn on a smiley face.
Oh, come on. He's a bit more advanced than that. I also used glue.
He sucks. I'm sorry, but this thing sucks.
Well, that's not his fault. He's 70% Hoover.
I'm not even entertaining the idea. It goes against everything we are, everything that Xander Eldrick taught us. This is not now, nor ever will be, the future of magic.
Okay, listen. Let Presto do one trick. Just one little trick. And if you can figure out how it was done, then he's gone. You never have to see him again.
I just don't see how this helps us with the podcast.
Come on, just one teensy trick.
I really don't agree with this.
That's not a no. Okay, great. Have you got socks on?
Yeah.
Because they're about to get blown completely off. Hey, Presto. I just realized something.
What? No, Craig. Surely you... Well, otherwise, why would you have called him...
Presto.
What's that, me darling?
Do magic.
Is it doing it?
Yeah, I think he's just, I said, do
Roll up, one and all. Come and see the greatest show in town. Up the apples and pears. Hello there, me darling. My, what a pair you've got there. I'm talking about your earrings, of course, madam. Put your handbag away. Now, I want you to take a look at this deck of cards. Can you see it? Just a normal deck of cards. Go on, have a feel. Give it a good seeing to. The deck of cards, I mean, you cheeky minx. Now, as you can see, there's nothing amiss. No funny business going on here. Unless you want there to be, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, oi, oi. Now pick a card, Trig, or any card you like.
Craig,
Yes, sir?
why is he like this?
Had a good look. Lovely jubbly. Now, remember your card and place it back into the deck. Now, watch me give it the old soft shoe shuffle. All righty, here we go. Now, I want you to picture the card in your head. I want you to transmit it to my receiver, if you know what I mean. Oi, oi, nudge, nudge. Oh, go. Oh, it's coming. Receiving transmission loud and clear. Now, do you have a purse on you, madam?
I have my wallet.
That's perfect. Why don't you whip it out for me? Your purse, of course. My, what's a pretty young thing like you doing with all this wonga? Now, is that your credit card there? Oh, but what's that? Behind it? It couldn't be the Three of Hearts, could it?
But
is that your card? Be honest, for all the boys and girls watching, is that your card?
yes, that's my card.
I don't believe it. He's better than I even expected. Now, if you can figure out how he...
Easy. He saw the reflection of the card in my glasses, and he used a slip dribble overhand deal followed by a four-knuckle peek ending in a reverse riffle. Impressive, but hardly...
Wrong. That's not the answer we're looking for, I'm afraid.
Okay, well, then he clearly used the Kazmanov 1-2 and finished with the bellhop double backslide maneuver to make it seem as though...
No!
Ooh, wrong again, it seems.
Well, then it must have...
I'm sure he could do it again if you like.
No, I just need to...
He actually fooled you, didn't he?
Shut up, I can figure it out. He hasn't even got any fingers, for Pete's sake.
It's okay, just admit it. You're living in the past, and Presto is the future of magic.
No! You know what? I'm done. If this is what you want, fine. But if this is the future of magic, then I want no part in it. Tune in next time, folks, for the great adventures of Craig and Presto. Good luck having an engaging conversation with a toaster on wheels.
Hey, Sal, buddy. Oh, wait, don't leave.
No, that's it. Yeah, just know that in years to come, when magic is truly dead and buried, that it's all your fault. Brothers. What a joke. We are the Strange Brothers, no more.
No. Salazar, I'm sorry.
And for my next trick,
Oh, hang on.
Presto will make himself disappear. For the good of magic. For mankind. For Master. My prime directive was to entertain, to generate joy in the hearts of many, but analysing the situation, I know now what must be done.
Presto, no.
Initiating self-destruct sequence in 3,
Oh, shh.
Why did you give him a self-destruct function?
I didn't.
2,
Quick, hide behind something.
Just get out of here. Save yourself.
Behind the desk now.
It was nice to see you. 1.
Oh, well, to be fair to him, he has disappeared.
Maybe we should just stick to regular old magic from now on.
Yeah, I don't think the podcasting game is for us.
Okay, boys, I'm back. Oh my god, what the hell did you guys do to my studio?
Kevin, hi.
We were just about to tidy up.
Exactly. I brought a Hoover with me. Sal,
Yes, Craig?
feels like we should perform our own kind of disappearing act.
Agreed. Sorry, Kevin. Got a dash. See you next time.
What? Hey, you can't just... look at this mess. Well, I guess it must have been a pretty explosive podcast. But then again, we'd expect nothing less from the Strange Brothers. Well, that's today's episode. Thanks for joining us on a journey from Victorian pub loos to the cutting edge of magical podcasting. We've admired some of London's finest porcelain and witnessed yet more evidence that the Strange Brothers probably shouldn't be left unsupervised. And remember, whether it's a hidden water closet in an old boozer or an ill-advised magical experiment, you never quite know what you'll discover when you venture off the beaten path. And we'll keep doing exactly that, here in the Big Smoke.